This is a Rough Tiger production.
And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
Alrighty. Greetings.
And Merry Christmas, everyone. It is Christmas Eve. And here's our present to you, episode 99, our final surprise drop episode of the year for Dream Idiots.
We all know
Bryan,
that we all know that having another surprise drop was on everyone's Christmas list, and so obviously you were good this year.
yeah,
So so
or
so,
you
so
were
you're
really bad.
right.
Uh, Bryan, how goes the Christmas Eve festivities for you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the holidays every year, and I always love it when they're over. It's
Yeah, isn't that the way it always is?
yeah. The first Monday in January is often my favorite day of the year.
I remember as a teenager driving through my hometown of Windcrest, Texas, looking at all the lights in traffic jams, stuck with the windows down, freezing our asses off, drinking hot chocolate, wondering why the hell are we doing this?
Right.
But it was always fun to do as a teenager. And now I've introduced my own kids to our holiday tradition. I will usually watch It's a Wonderful Life by myself because no one else will watch it with me. My wife finds it too depressing. And then it's in black and white, which kind of leaves the boys out.
Right.
But we do usually try to watch the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians because
Mm.
that's the holiday classic in our house, and maybe try to get a little Rankin Bass in there at some point too with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Uh-huh.
So we've got a couple of things here on tab. We've got a brand new story for you that I'll present in a moment. We're going to change things up a little bit. Normally, Bryan goes first, but I've got a brand new Christmas story here to tell you. And then we're going to visit an old friend, visit an old story that we did a while back, and then we'll have a little discussion about it and how that went when we followed that tradition in my wife's family's annual white elephant party.
Can't wait.
So yeah, it's gonna be good. So are you ready,
We're ready.
Bryan? I have here a story that I'm calling. The title is "Send in the Clowns," and I hope it becomes a Christmas tradition. Send in the clowns. There comes a moment, at least once, I think, in everyone's life, perhaps during a party or a holiday or a school graduation, where a person looks around and realizes we will never be all together in the same place and at the same time ever again. It is in no small way a Stoic observation. In a fleeting moment, mortality steps in and demands a mental image. Remember this. It is not a memento mori, but rather a memory of life, of being young. This moment occurred for me one Christmas Eve at Phil Manette's house when my friend Dave Kransky told us all that he was potty trained while listening to the 45 single version of Send in the Clowns as performed by Judy Collins. This was met with odd looks and silence until Jeff Pollard threw his cards into the muck. What the hell are you talking about? Well, you see, Jeff, there was once this singer named Judy Collins, and she sang lots of songs, and one of them ended up on a little bitty record we call a 45, and he cut me off by flipping me the bird. From the kitchen, I heard Phil cluck his tongue and slip into full Cary Grant. Judy, Judy, Judy. My mom, Dave said, scooping up the pot because everyone else had folded except for Scott Vanderwally, who hadn't even anteed. He had fallen asleep at the table again. Read this article about potty training, you see. It said that you shouldn't force your kid to strain and spend too much time on the toilet if they're not ready. Steve Vanderwally, Scott's brother, nodded. We can't have that now, can we? Poor little kids left to their own devices sitting there on the can. Dave continued. Oh, no, 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 no. But you can't let them off easy either. They need to spend some time on that toilet. So my mom had an idea. Kick your dad really hard in the nuts so she wouldn't have to go through this again, said Jeff, who often beat the shit out of the younger Kransky brother, Doug, when we were in elementary school. No, she got this portable record player, and she bought the Judy Collins single because A, she liked Judy Collins. Who doesn't? Yelled Phil again from the kitchen. I'm going to need help when the carolers arrive. We could hear them faintly a few houses down. And B, Dave continued, the single version is about 4 minutes long, the exact amount of time recommended by this book for getting little kids to poop while on the toilet. Silence. So I spent a lot of time on the toilet as a kid listening to Judy Collins sing Send in the Clowns. There was more silence. The looks turned from odd to sad. That's rough, Dave, said Jeff, but it explains a lot. To hell with you, Doug said, getting up to help Phil in the kitchen. Speaking of explaining, I began to shuffle the cards. I always shuffle the cards. Jeff, you have a contract now? Jeff was never willing to talk about himself, let alone his music. 2 albums, no big deal. It's a small Chicago-based label. The recording studio is not far from my place. No big deal, yelled Phil, who had shooed Dave from the kitchen, explaining he needed help with the carolers, not with cookies or cider or hot chocolate. Dude, congrats. That is great. Yeah, well, it's going okay for now, at least. It's good to do my own thing, after so many studio sessions. There wasn't an instrument Jeff couldn't play. To say he was gifted musically was an understatement. From high school through college and beyond, he was constantly forming, dissolving, and then reforming bands. He switched instruments as often as band names. What was that last college band you had, the year before you graduated? I thought you guys were going places. Bicycle Guy, he said. Yeah, me too. Would have been great until the keyboardist and bassist ran off and got married. And then my drummer, he joined a cult. I had forgotten about the sad end to Bicycle Guy, but that was the way with most of Jeff's musical projects. No one else had the steam to keep up with him. Who named it? Asked Scott. What? Scott's head was still on the table, but he was awake again. Who named it? Bicycle Guy. I never got that one. That's what you're asking about? I said. Who named the band? Swear name, Scott slurred. The alcohol and long hours of travel home had taken their toll on him. That was the drummer's, said Jeff. He was really into acid, in love with it, worshipped Albert Hoffman. The serial killer? Asked Scott. What? No, dumbass. The Swiss dude who invented LSD. A couple of days after he accidentally took it, he tried it again. Then he went for a bike ride and tripped balls. Bicycle Guy. You get it? Nope, Scott said, falling asleep again. Everyone was clearly running down. We'd been playing cards most of the evening. Steve and Jeff started to clean up the empty solo cups and beer bottles. Doug wandered off to the bathroom. You're really into this Christmas stuff, huh? I called to Phil. What, with this being your first house? First Christmas in my own house. Mom, Dad, and Trish are coming over tomorrow. Yeah, I'm into it. Grab this tray. The cider and hot chocolate are ready. The drinks were lined up on a cart. Red cups for hot chocolate, green for cider. The carolers were next door. When the doorbell rings, you open the door for me and I'll be there with the cookies. Then we can serve the drinks. I just followed orders. Phil wasn't the leader of our merry little band, but he was the organizer, always. Yes, chef, I said. When it came time to throw together our 13th annual Christmas time poker game, all 6 of us, Phil included, agreed that he should host it. That was just his thing. Even in high school, his parties weren't the biggest or the loudest, but they were the best. No fights, no drama, just fun. Then things started happening. A lot of things all at once. From the back of the house, we heard Dave's tenor, slightly muffled by the bathroom door. Isn't it rich? Are we a pair? Oh, God, Phil said. Is he? Steve and Jeff had paused in their cleaning, their eyes wide. Is he singing and shitting? Then the doorbell rang. Phil's face tightened to a hard smile, like he was working a bad tooth with his tongue. Open the door, I opened the door, and on the other side were 8 or 10 of Phil's neighbors in matching hats and scarves. They launched into a dignified rendition of Silent Night. Several small children were there too, holding candles, not the battery powered type, but real candles with rivulets of wax running down into the fabric of their mittens, which I noticed matched the hats and scarves. Every single one of them had the perfect amount of snowflakes on their eyelashes. I'm fairly sure their baritone was Bing Crosby himself. I looked over my shoulder into the living room where Steve and Jeff were quaking, tears running down their faces. And from behind them, Dave continued, "Just when I stopped opening doors." His voice was sounding more confident and louder. I looked anywhere I could except at Phil. These caroling folks had a goddamned miniature schnauzer wearing a matching heart, hat, and sweater. She was sitting patiently, listening to not only the carol, but for whatever the hell was going on behind me in the house. And just as the final notes died out, as Jesus, Lord, at thy birth, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth, faded into the air, Dave emerged from the bathroom, all 6'5" of him, arms outstretched to the heavens. "Well, maybe next year." Everything was very quiet. The carolers, Phil, me, the schnauzer. This was the moment I knew that all 6 of us would never be together in the same place and at the same time ever again. Not because of what happened that night, but because we were all at the precipice of great change. All of us scattered across the country, or in Scott's case, the world. New jobs, marriages, mortgages. Scott sat up straight just then, a poker chip stuck to his forehead, and broke the silence. "God bless us, everyone!" And then he passed out again. The end.
That's hilarious. That's very
And
good.
that was Send in the Clowns. Thank you.
That
So
was awesome.
I hope that becomes a tradition for you in the future, hanging out with your buddies and playing cards at Christmas time.
No, so that's freaking hilarious. I mean, we need
Thank you.
to so that is the first time I've ever heard that story. I mean, that's worth recording again and getting a really good rendition of that. And we I mean that needs to be distributed somehow. More than just on this silly podcast. That's really, really funny.
Well, thank you. That's been bouncing around inside my skull for a while now, and I finally got it down on paper. So
Yeah, that's yeah, that's great. Yeah. Awesome.
next,
Happy
thank you, sir.
holidays.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a blast from the past as we discuss this little feller here that Bryan brought up a while back on the podcast.
Yes, this is a story from a year ago at around this time. Here's the story, in case you missed it. It was one of our favorites. The story of the Christmas Caganer.
It's time for the Dream Idiot's curse word of the week.
So, as it is the holidays, you can probably appreciate the fact that I was laughing 10 days, 2 weeks ago about the fact that my delightful 87-year-old mother pulled out her small collection of nativity scenes. And so some of these little scenes I've seen my entire life, and I've always been mildly amused by the fact that one of them, I swear to Christ, Jesus is Japanese. And one of them, it's like the entire thing is set in Hawaii because they're like palm trees, and like I don't understand the theme of this, but it turns out that creches, nativity scenes, are very specific, but they're very over time are regionalized, and local artisans will make the nativity scene. We'll make it their own, right? We'll make nativity scenes for their home continent, their home country, reflect their culture. So in Mexico, they're obviously they're wearing Mexican hats and native animals, native plants, etc. Sometimes these creches are just Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. Sometimes it's plus the wise men, and sometimes it's plus many animals. Sometimes it's deviates even further than that. For years and years in Austin, if you went to, there's a moderately, I wouldn't say famous, but locally well-known Christmas display on 34th Street, just off Guadalupe in Austin, where you can go see Christmas lights. And this one family had their nativity scene set up in the back of a car with lights, and their nativity had the three Budweiser men, which is three bottles of Budweiser. Um, the Virgin Mary was I recall it being either a Virgin Daiquiri or a Bloody Mary. I can't now remember which. And the baby Jesus is the baby cheeses, and it's a little slice of gorgonzola in the manger. So you can choose to take ownership of the nativity scene any way you'd like. But there's one nativity scene that I love really the most, and that going back now to late 17th century, early 18th century in Catalan, so the northern portion of Spain, portions of France, and actually northern parts of Italy as well. There is a tradition there such that the nativity scene is actually almost like a diorama. It is a much larger display with some of them are very complex, with roads and rivers and multiple buildings and many people in this scene. It's not just that building. It can be dozens of characters, and it's a much larger display. But in this area, they have a character called the Caganer, Caganer. Does that ring a bell at all?
Caganer?
Caganer.
No. Mm-mm.
The Caganer is a character that is now for more than 200 years is a character that is in the nativity scene. They stipulate he's never close to Jesus, but is a character who's somewhere at the back of the display is squatting with his pants around his legs, taking a shit.
No.
Yes. In 2005, the city of Barcelona actually removed the Caganer from their official nativity scene, and they had so many complaints about the absence of the Caganer that the Caganer was brought back in 2006.
That's what those people were saying to me and pointing at me when I was in Barcelona.
There he is. The Caganer.
Está aquí, Caganer, está aquí.
And you can buy...
Es un gringo gordo, pointing at me.
You can buy ornaments that are just the Caganer, and I just love this as a tradition. I love the idea of some 85, 90-year-old woman going to see this year's display and playing this game with their grandchildren. Find the Caganer, because that apparently is what that's the tradition. It's like where's Waldo?
Okay.
Yeah, but the character is wildly popular, and you can buy just the character as an ornament. And I just think it's the best Christmas tradition ever.
So it's kind of like where the other tradition I would think of is just like getting a little plastic baby in the baby cake for Mardi Gras when you eat the cake.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And it's also this idea of mixing the sacred to the profane, right?
Right.
The beautiful and the ugly. My God, the Caganer. Oh, Bryan.
Just brilliant. I just love this. And it's also the case that it's based on a larger poem / song. But as you and I would say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year in Mexico, Feliz Navidad y Prospero año y felicidad, etc. In this area of Spain, it is in Catalonian Spanish, which I know is a little bit different than traditional Spanish. It is very common to offer up the holiday greeting: eat well, shit hard. So the Caganer. Happy holidays, everyone.
I'm gonna have to mute my mic for a second.
He's coughing his guts out.
Okay. All right.
So there you go. This week's curse word of the week. And there you have it, a little throwback from last year.
And I remember I went to Barcelona and just the Caganer experience. And I had to order one because my wife's side of the family has a white elephant party every year with a Christmas gift. So I bought a Caganer to share for the white elephant party.
You actually bought it in Barcelona?
No, I didn't.
No, okay.
I had it. I bought it online, but
okay.
Oh man. So we had it in the Christmas pile, and I was really hoping that someone who would be completely offended by it would pick it up, but it was not to be.
No.
Yeah, friend of the pod, Simon got it, and
Uh-huh.
no one tried to steal it from him. So he was stuck with a Caganer for the entirety of it. I had one brother-in-law and one sister-in-law who were relatively offended by it. Um,
Really?
even after I explained it to them that this is a long-standing tradition going back umpteen gajillion years
Oh my God.
in Spain. Yeah, they didn't like that. They felt it was offensive, and it's a fine, whatever. Um,
Yeah, I mean, going back literally hundreds of years in dozens. I mean, it's not. It's I, as a. I mean, dozens of countries for. I mean, whatever.
anyway, um,
People being offended over stupid shit. Whatever. Deal
but
with it.
it warmed my heart because later in the week, my brother-in-law and his girlfriend gave me a little pooping penguin as a belated Christmas present, the kind that
Uh-huh.
marches around and poops out candy.
Uh-huh.
And then just this year, I got a photo from him, which I shared with you, of his living room all decked out for Christmas. And there, right in the middle of his sideboard with all his Christmas decorations on
The
it,
Caganer.
hiding in the very back, was the Caganer doing his business.
All right. Good
So
man.
that was pretty awesome. Uh, I didn't get one for us. I think I'm going to go ahead and get one on the down low and just sneak it somewhere around the house next year for Christmas. So
Hmm.
I think it's a hilarious tradition. But
Yeah.
you've kind of
It's
you've kind of
it's
seen what
perfect.
I you kind of seen what I do for Christmas with the story that I just read. So apparently pooping is part of Christmas. But um,
At least it should be.
anyway, did you share the Caganeer story with your family at all? I can't recall.
I didn't. I don't know how much some of them would find it funny. Some of them would just be disgusted by it, probably.
I bet your
Um,
brother would find it funny.
yeah, my brother would definitely laugh at that. Others, not so much, probably.
I bet your nephew would find it funny.
Yes, uh-huh. Maybe it is sort of boy humor, I guess. But the fact that it is has such a storied history, it isn't just some random bit of disgustingness from the last few years. I mean, there's a legacy to this thing, and I'm sorry if that bothers you. I don't know.
It's not something you
Chill
would
out.
find at Spencer's Gifts. Let's just put it that way. It's not.
No, but it really is, the fact that it's been around so long and had the life that it has. I think that's just fabulous.
And I do love the bit about that you mentioned in the clip we played was the fact that some grandmothers play it with their grandkids. Spot the Caganeer
Right,
with grandma.
right. Yeah, it's completely benign, and you just have to take it sort of tongue in cheek and have fun with it. Like, why not?
Well, folks, whatever you're doing for the holiday season, if you are celebrating Christmas, I hope you're having a good time doing it with family and friends, being safe. Um, what else do we have to say, Bryan? Like
Yeah,
us,
thanks for
subscribe to us.
thanks for hanging in there with us. And on whichever platform you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple, Audible, any of them, Podchaser, all the random off-color ones that are out there. If you can give us 5 stars and shoot us a review, that'd be great. We're at dreamidiots.com online, Instagram and Facebook. We're at Dream Idiots, and you can drop us a note at dreamidiotspodcast at Gmail. Actually got a couple more story ideas sent in, which unfortunately for Morris, I'm the benefactor of those because I'm the one who checks the email. So we appreciate all of that and hanging in there with us, and hope your holidays are going great.
Yeah, and we've got one more episode, a regular episode, come out on Boxing Day next week. That'll be our final episode of the year. That is 100th episode. Thanks for being here.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe we've fumbled our way to the goal line uh,
Right.
the way we have. But that is coming up next week, and we've got an announcement for stuff to come in the new year. So thanks for being there for us. Be safe over the holidays. For God's sakes, be safe. And happy travels to you if you're out and about having to catch airplanes and trains and uh, however else people travel. Um, be careful out there and be good to each other.
And as always, live well, shit hard.
Indeed.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
Bong bong,
Mhm.
Bryan.
Bong bong?
Bong bong.
Bong bong. Good.